code on this computer. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we are adding all the labels for our maps, and we printed out the labels, and then we started, and I'm sorry because I forgot to record until now. We started by adding all of our bordering states. So we added the Pacific Ocean. We cut pretty thin around so they don't take up too much space and dipped them in glue and stuck them on. Washington State, Idaho, Nevada, and then down here, California. After adding the bordering states, we added a couple of major cities. We added Salem, the capital of Oregon, which is down the Willamette Valley, about an hour south of Portland. We added Portland up at the mouth where the Willamette River flows into the Columbia. So in that little dip is where Portland is. Then we went through our next group of things and added some of the other things. So the Willamette River, the Willamette Valley, the Rogue River, the Klamath River or Klamath Lake or Klamath Wetlands, the Deschutes River. We had to handwrite the John Day River. We added Idaho, oh no, over here, the Snake River between Idaho and Oregon, and the Owyhee River, way down in southeastern Oregon. And we added Mount Hood up here at the top. It's the northernmost mountain closest to Portland. Mine is kind of far away, but should be closest. All right, and the last thing from that group that we had to add is the Columbia River Gorge, which is right along the Columbia River. And so I'm just gonna stick it on there in the same line, but further down. Can you hear my husband yelling at the cat? It's like, my husband's gone crazy during COVID and now he talks to the cats all the time. They never, yeah.
Where's the Columbia River Gorge again?
Yeah, so it's right by the Columbia River. So up here in the top, as you drive along, this is Highway 84 heading east in our state, you'll go along the Columbia River, and then as the sides are high, it's Columbia River Gorge. It's a really interesting story how that gorge was formed. A long, long time ago, most of the land in the United States was covered with water. I mean, long time ago. And then it formed this giant lake called Lake Missoula. And at a certain point, the lake was huge. It was like an ocean. And then the dam burst in the lake. It was made out of ice and rock and mud. And the water came rushing down and carved out the Columbia River Gorge. And actually deposited lots of really good stuff in our valley, which makes us such a good place to grow things. All right, let's move on to level 3 of place names in Oregon. So this one has got Crater Lake, Mount Bachelor, Three Sisters, Coast Range, Cascades, the Wallowas, and Steens Mountain. So let's start with Crater Lake. Hopefully you put that on your map because I think it's maybe the #1 or the #2 tourist site in Oregon is to go see our beautiful deep Crater Lake with Wizard Island. Has anybody ever been out there in a boat? Nope, I haven't either, although I have skied around it, but I've never been out there in a boat. So Crater Lake is in southern Oregon. It's in the Cascade Range, down kind of by the Klamath River. And hopefully you put a little crater in it because it was a big volcano and it exploded and it left a hole where it blew out the middle and then the hole filled with water. And so now it's this deepest lake in the United States, Crater Lake. Down here, I stuck something in and painted it blue. It's not really that big, but you know, it works. You're so happy, Emily. You're just wiggling away there. All right. After sticking Crater Lake on, let's see what's next. Mount Bachelor and the Three Sisters. They're very close together. They're near Bend, which I don't think we have. Do we not have Bend on here? We don't. I'm going to make my own little Bend. So I'm going to write on this thing Bend. B-E-N-D. So Bend has gotten to be a bigger city in Oregon. It used to be a really pretty small city. And then it was a little ski town, but now it's become quite popular. And I think it's probably one of the bigger cities in Oregon, right behind Salem and Eugene. And Bend is kind of in the if you were to point a finger right at almost the center of the state, there's Bend. So it's right where we go from having trees and green to where it's dry and deserty. It has a really great museum called the High Desert Museum, which is fun to visit. Mount Bachelor is in the Cascade Range just next to Bend. So people drive there from Bend. It takes, I don't know, an hour. So you want to stick that in there next to one of the mountains. And then right next to it are these 3 mountains kind of all together. I don't know if you made that on your map, but if you did, those are called the Three Sisters. And they're a wonderful place to go hiking.
Isn't Mount Bachelor one of the Three Sisters?
Not one of the Three Sisters. It's next to the Three Sisters. There's Mount Bachelor, the Three Sisters, Mount Jefferson, and then Three Fingered Jack and Broken Top, and they're all pretty close together. It's a beautiful part of Oregon. It's gotten so crowded now that they're issuing permits to go hiking there. All right, so now I've got Bend, and next to Bend, I've got Mount Bachelor and the Three Sisters. Now the next ones are these mountain ranges, the Coast Range, the Cascades, and the Wallowas.
Miss Dallas, can you go a little slower?
Sure. Tell me when you're ready.
Can you show where the Three Sisters and Mount Bachelor is again?
Sure. Let me show that again. Okay, so here's my map. And about the center is Bend. Next to it is Mount Bachelor. And then just a little to the north, Three Sisters. I think it's a little to the north. There's a whole bunch of mountains in there. It's all the Cascade Range, so. There's Diamond Peak and Mount Thielsen, all sorts of really neat mountains. Beautiful area of Oregon. And that's where Sun River is. So you were just there, Em.
Yep.
Elizaveta, I don't see your screen anymore, so I didn't know you were there till I heard your voice. Hey, Elizaveta, did you watch that class on how to write the story? Hello, are you still there? How you guys doing? Did you get Mount Bachelor and the Three Sisters on there? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to the Cascade Range, which is just where we put the Three Sisters and Mount Bachelors, but that whole row of mountains from all the way from Mount Hood all the way down to Crater Lake is the, oh no, it's not the Coast Range, it's the Cascade, sorry. I had the wrong one in my hand. Here's the Coast Range. Coast Range is over by the coast. Cascades are the one in the middle. Okay, so I just did these 2 mountain ranges. So over here we have the Coast Range right by the Pacific Ocean. And then we have the Cascade Range in the just the other side of the Willamette Valley. So on one side of the Willamette Valley, you have the Coast Range, and the other side of the Willamette Valley, you have the Cascades. How you guys doing? Doing okay? Good. All right, let's see. The next 2 are the Wallowas and Steens Mountain. And I always get confused, but I think actually I believe the Blue Mountains are a little lower down and then the Wallowas are higher, but let me double check on this map. Oh, I've got it wrong. I always have that wrong. So the Wallowas are up in the corner of Oregon, the top, so the north and the east corner are the Wallowas. They're where this town Joseph is, called Little Switzerland. And up here in this corner are the Wallowa Mountains. Really beautiful, really jagged mountains with snow. They're beautiful mountains up here. So in that corner. And then just a little further south near Baker City is this area known as the Blue Mountains. And we're going to get the label for those in a minute. So the Wallowa Mountains. The last mountain in this group, Steens Mountain, is this kind of a funny, this doesn't really even look like a mountain when you're near it. It just looks like a ridge line, but it's way down near the Owyhee River. So down in this southeast corner, there's a mountain here near Malheur County called Steens Mountain. The neat thing about that area is there's a lot of cool things in that area, but great birds. It's a big bird refuge, has a lot of wetlands. Then it also has this really cool desert on the backside of the mountain called the Alvord Desert. It also has wild horses in Oregon, you guys. Very neato. And then it also has amazing antelope and Indian. You can see lots of petroglyphs and things recorded from the Indians. So it's a pretty cool place to visit. Really long drive. All right, that's group 2. We're to our final group of place names. As soon as you're ready, give me a thumbs up. Not ready yet, is what I'm getting. If you teach 4th grade, you get to make one of these maps every year, and it really teaches you where things are in Oregon once you've made about 10 salt and flour maps every year. I think I have 3 at my house right now, actually, which is kind of funny. All right. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready for the last group. M's ready. Subi's not quite there, almost there. Yep, you're ready. Okay, so in this group, we have the Blue Mountains, the Strawberry Mountains, the Columbia Plateau, the High Desert, the Alvord Desert, Smith Rocks, and the Oregon Dunes. I'm going to start with the Blue Mountains because we already talked about those. And actually the Strawberry Mountains, I don't even know if they're separate. I guess they are. They're further south. Okay, so the Blue Mountains are just above the John Day River and sort of between the Wallowas up here and the John Day River down here. There's some mountains in here. So those are the Blue Mountains. They're right by a town called Baker City. They also have a really cool museum that shows where the Oregon Trail went through. You can even look at old wagons and stuff. But when we went by, it was closed, but hopefully it'll be open soon. The next mountains that you're going to cut out are the Strawberry Mountains. We didn't talk too much about those, but there are just a couple mountains even further south, the very furthest south one, down here. As you're about to leave to get into the desert, there's a few little mountains, like 2 or 3. It's a very small area called the Strawberry Mountains. I don't know if they had wild strawberries or what. Maybe. Strawberry Mountains. Now we have the Wallowas, the Blue Mountains, the Strawberry Mountains. All right, the next thing I have on my list is the Columbia Plateau. And remember, the interesting thing about that, and I really noticed this when we were driving, is that after you leave the ocean, the land in the United States builds up and up and up to the Rocky Mountains. So even though it doesn't feel like you've gone up a whole lot, the land in Eastern Oregon is a lot higher than the land in Western Oregon. That makes it have really cold nights and be pretty cold in the winter too. So where I was last week, it was snowing on me, even though I was still in Oregon and I wasn't up in the mountains. So the Columbia Plateau is a huge area. It's really this whole area on the eastern side of the state that's higher land. So I'm just going to stick it across here because it doesn't need to be anywhere specific. It's just kind of that big, dry, high region with a little different ecosystem than the western part of the United States. And the next one we have is really kind of the same thing. It says the high desert, which really is the Columbia Plateau. I mean, I guess sometimes they call the Columbia Plateau the area closer to the Columbia River, but it's really that whole area, and the high desert is up there. So even though it's cold, it's a desert. I think people always think of deserts as hot, and it is hot in the summer, but up there by Bend is the high desert. So I'm just going to put that just south of Bend. There's a place up there called Summer Lake where they found the oldest sandal in the United States, and it's 15, I think, I don't know, I'm going to say it wrong. 15,000, 15 million years old, 15,000, I think. And that's when people were here, so a long time.
Miss Laws,
Mhm.
where's the high desert again?
So the high desert is anywhere near Bend and near that high plateau. I think the Columbia Plateau I probably should have put closer to the Columbia River, but it's okay. It just means the high side of the state where it goes up. Whew, 3 things left: the Alvord Desert, Smith Rocks, and the Oregon Dunes. 3 places that a lot of people like to go. Has anybody ever been to the Oregon Dunes? No? People drive dune buggies, but you can also go run down the sand dunes and jump in the water in the summer. It's pretty cool. All right.
When I was in a nice little car,
Oh, you did?
helmets and goggles on. When I was like 7 or something.
Sounds cool. You have to be careful. It can be pretty dangerous. A lot of people get hurt because they don't know
The
what they're
bus was much slower though. Like the big bus was a lot of people.
doing. Okay. Okay, so let's see, the Alvord Desert. Remember I said the Alvord Desert is in the far southeast corner of Oregon beyond Steens Mountain. So right down here in the very corner of Oregon, right where it turns into Nevada, that's the Alvord Desert. It has bubbling mud pots and hot springs. Pretty interesting.
Miss Laws, where's the Oregon Dunes?
Oh, well, I haven't put them on yet.
Okay.
I'll do those next. Let's get the Alvord Desert on. Did you already get it on? Now you're ahead of me. All right, so the dunes are actually in the Coast Range. They're down in about midway down, I believe, or maybe a little further south on the coast. And we didn't put them on our map, but they're actually a place where there are sand dunes.
Oregon Dunes are like in Coos Bay.
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure where that is with my rivers. So I would have to look on the map again, but I just put mine down here on the coast. About a little bit more than halfway. Right next to the Pacific Ocean. All right, my final thing to put on there is Smith Rocks. Has anybody ever heard of Smith Rocks? So Smith Rocks is near Bend, and it's super famous for rock climbing. So like my son is a big rock climber, and he goes to Smith Rocks almost every weekend. So it's these, in the middle of the desert, there's these big rocks, and they happen to be a really nice kind of rock that's good for rock climbing. So when you leave Bend and you're driving back to go past Mount Hood and come home, up here in the desert is Smith Rocks. And it's just some kind of funny rocks in the desert, kind of near the Deschutes River. Smith Rocks, north of Bend. I just stuck my rocks right there in the desert. Smith Rocks, right here. There's lots of other things like the Painted Hills in Willamette, or Silver Creek State Park or Silver Falls State Park, and all sorts of things, Multnomah Falls, but we couldn't put everything on the map. But if you want to add other things later, you're welcome to do so. Now you have a pretty good idea of where things are in Oregon.